Welcome to the Retirement Wealth Podcast. If you're tuning in, you're likely thinking about how to make your retirement dreams a reality. And we've got some really interesting insights for you today.
Absolutely, Emily. One of the biggest concerns people have as they approach retirement is ensuring they have a steady monthly cash flow. It's like, how do you turn your savings into a reliable income stream?
Right. It's a crucial piece of the puzzle. And today, we're diving into how to build that monthly cash flow system for a comfortable retirement. We'll explore different strategies, the importance of budgeting, and perhaps even some investment options that can help.
Exactly. And we'll also touch on the common pitfalls to avoid so you can navigate your retirement years with confidence and peace of mind.
It's all about planning, right? We want to empower our listeners to feel secure in their financial future so they can focus on what truly matters in retirement.
Yes, and remember, it's not just about having enough money, but how you manage and distribute it over time.
So let's get started. First up, let's talk about the foundation of a solid cash flow system.
Emily, one of the biggest reasons this topic is so crucial right now is the unpredictability in the market. We've seen a lot of fluctuations lately, right? It really makes you think about how your retirement savings can handle that volatility.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people are feeling that pressure. With the cost of living rising due to inflation, it's not just about having enough saved anymore. It's about making your money work for you in a way that keeps pace with those rising costs.
Exactly. Just the other day, I spoke with a couple who had planned to retire in the next year or so. They were feeling anxious because their portfolio had taken a hit with the recent market dips. They were worried that their nest egg wouldn't stretch as far as they once thought.
That's such a common concern. So many people are facing that reality. I imagine they must have felt really overwhelmed, trying to figure out how to maintain their lifestyle while also dealing with potential healthcare costs that seem to be rising every year.
Right. And that's a big piece of the puzzle. Healthcare can be one of the largest expenses in retirement, often catching people off guard. I remember another client, let's call her Linda. She was in her late 60s, healthy, and didn't think much about healthcare costs until she had a minor surgery that turned into a much bigger deal. She was shocked at how quickly those bills added up.
Oh wow, that must have been a wake-up call for her. It's so important to plan for those unexpected expenses, isn't it? I think a lot of people underestimate that aspect of retirement planning.
Definitely. And when you think about it, planning for consistent cash flow can really alleviate some of that stress. It's not just about how much you have saved, but how you can structure that money to give you a steady income throughout retirement.
Right, and that's where it ties back to the emotional side of things too. Having that sense of financial security can make a huge difference in how people enjoy their retirement years. You don't want to be worried about, where your next dollar is coming from.
Exactly. A stable cash flow can allow retirees to focus on enjoying their time, traveling, spending time with family, or, pursuing hobbies instead of stressing about finances.
And speaking of family, legacy planning is another part of this whole picture. Many people want to leave behind something for their kids or grandkids. But if your cash flow isn't planned out well, that can be difficult, right?
Spot on. It's a balancing act. You want to enjoy your retirement, but you also want to make sure you're not leaving your loved ones in a tight spot later on. I think it's crucial to have those conversations early on so everyone knows what to expect.
Yeah, and current economic trends are also something we need to consider. With Social Security changes on the horizon, it's vital to have a clear understanding of how those benefits will fit into your overall financial picture.
Absolutely. We can't ignore the fact that there's ongoing talk about adjusting the way benefits are calculated. Some folks might not be getting as much as they anticipated. If you're relying on that as a primary income source, it could really change your retirement plans.
It's a lot to think about. And it's why I love that we're diving into cash flow strategies today. Because ultimately, it's about mitigating those risks and ensuring that people feel secure in their retirement years.
Right, and a good cash flow system can help buffer against uncertainties. Think about it this way. If you have multiple streams of income, you're not solely dependent on one source. That diversification can really be a lifesaver during tough times.
That makes so much sense. Like, if you've got a mix of Social Security, maybe some rental income, and a solid investment portfolio, you're in a much better position to weather those ups and downs.
Exactly. And I've seen it in practice too. For instance, a retiree named Tom, he had a well-structured plan that included a combination of investments and part-time work. When the market dipped, he wasn't stressed because his cash flow was still reliable.
That's a great example. He was able to adapt without feeling like his whole retirement was at risk. And I think that's what we want for everyone listening today, to feel empowered and secure.
Right, and that's the beauty of having a cash flow system in place. It allows you to pivot as needed, whether it's due to market changes or personal circumstances. The goal is to create a system that works for you, regardless of what happens outside.
Well, I can't wait to dive into those core strategies with you. It's going to be so helpful for our listeners to understand how they can build their own cash flow systems.
Definitely. Let's get into that. So, Emily, when we're talking about building a monthly cash flow system for retirement, it's really important to think about how you're going to generate that income, right?
Absolutely, David. It's not just about having a big nest egg. It's about making sure that nest egg works for you, month after month.
Exactly. One of the first things to consider is how you'll tap into your retirement accounts, like your 401k or IRA. You know, a good rule of thumb is the 4% rule, which suggests that you can withdraw about 4% of your retirement savings each year without running out of money.
Right. So if someone has, let's say, $1 million saved up, they could withdraw about $40,000 a year. But it's not as simple as just taking that amount and calling it a day, is it?
No, it's not. The 4% rule is a guideline, not a hard and fast rule. Market fluctuations and personal circumstances can affect how much you should withdraw. It's important to consider your expenses and any other income sources you might have.
Like Social Security, which is often a big part of the puzzle. So how can someone optimize that?
Great question. You can start taking Social Security as early as age 62, but if you wait until your full retirement age, or even until 70, you can increase your monthly benefits significantly, sometimes by as much as 30% or more.
That's a big deal. So if someone can afford to wait, it might be worth it in the long run, huh?
Definitely. And it's all about balancing your needs. If you need income right away, you might have to start early. But if you can hold off, that larger benefit can really help sustain you later on.
And then there's the whole aspect of asset allocation, right? How you spread your investments across different asset classes, stocks, bonds, real estate.
Exactly. A common guideline is the 70-30th rule, 70% in stocks and 30% in bonds when you're younger. And as you get closer to retirement, you might want to shift that to, say, 50-50 or even 40-60ths to reduce risk.
That makes sense. Stocks can be volatile, but they also offer growth potential, while bonds tend to provide more stability, right?
Right. Diversification is key. You don't want all your money in one basket. And real estate can also play a role here, particularly if you have rental properties that can generate income.
So if someone has a rental property, they could potentially use that income as part of their cash flow?
Exactly. Rental income can be a great way to supplement your retirement income, but it also comes with its own set of responsibilities, like maintenance and tenant management.
Yeah, and that's where some people might choose to invest in real estate investment trusts. REITs instead, easier to manage, right?
Yes, exactly. REITs can provide exposure to real estate without the hands-on management. Plus, they often pay dividends, which can add to your monthly cash flow.
Speaking of cash flow, what about annuities? How do they fit into this picture?
Annuities are another option. They can provide guaranteed income for a certain period or for life. You pay a lump sum up front, and then you receive regular payments, depending on the type of annuity you choose.
Right, but there are different types, like fixed and variable annuities. So someone really needs to understand what they're getting into.
Yes, and it's crucial to consider fees and the terms of the contract. Some annuities can be quite complex, and you want to ensure it aligns with your overall retirement strategy.
And taxes come into play as well, right? Like with a traditional IRA, you'll pay taxes on withdrawals, but with a Roth IRA, you can take tax-free distributions in retirement.
Absolutely. That's a huge advantage of a Roth, especially if you expect to be in a higher tax bracket during retirement. It can be wise to strategize withdrawals to minimize your tax burden.
So if someone has a mix of accounts, they can withdraw from different ones to manage their taxes better?
Yes, that's often called tax-efficient withdrawal strategy. For instance, you might draw from taxable accounts first, then tax-deferred accounts like traditional IRAs, and save tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs for later.
That sounds like a solid plan. And what about required minimum distributions, or RMDs? Those can add complexity, right?
Definitely. Once you hit age 73, the IRS requires you to start taking distributions from your tax-deferred accounts, and that can increase your taxable income, which is something to plan for.
So if you're not careful, that could push you into a higher tax bracket, which is the last thing you want in retirement.
Exactly. Planning those withdrawals carefully can help you avoid unnecessary tax spikes. And it's always good to have a diversified portfolio to manage risks and returns.
And to ensure you can weather market fluctuations. So in summary, having a clear strategy for cash flow, considering all these different elements, is crucial for a successful retirement.
Yes, and remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. It's about tailoring your plan to your unique situation, financial goals, and lifestyle choices.
That makes sense. And now, what are some common pitfalls people should be aware of as they plan for retirement?
Well, one of the biggest mistakes is underestimating expenses. Many people think they'll spend less in retirement, but healthcare costs can be quite high, and lifestyle expenses might not decrease as expected.
Yeah, that's a great point. Some folks even take on more travel or hobbies, which can add up. What else should they watch out for?
Another pitfall is not having a clear withdrawal strategy. Just because you can draw from several sources doesn't mean you should. You need to be intentional about it to make your money last.
And they should also consider market volatility, especially if they're withdrawing funds during a downturn that can really hurt their long-term savings.
Absolutely. Timing your withdrawals and being aware of market conditions is crucial to maintaining your cash flow.
It sounds like planning for retirement is a lot more intricate than people might think.
It really is. And that's why it's so important to have a solid plan in place. And of course, to review and adjust it regularly. So, Emily, one of the biggest pitfalls I see with clients planning for retirement is the sequence of returns risk.
Right, that's where the timing of withdrawals can really impact your portfolio, isn't it?
Exactly. If you happen to retire just before a market downturn, and then you're withdrawing from your investments, it can really hurt your long-term sustainability.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. I had a client, let's call him Mike. He retired right before the 2008 financial crisis. He had a solid plan, but unfortunately, his portfolio took a significant hit that year. And because he was withdrawing funds to live on, he was selling shares at a loss.
Yikes, that sounds tough.
It was, and it wasn't just about the loss in that year. It affected his entire retirement plan. He had to adjust his lifestyle and rethink his budget.
So what could Mike have done differently to avoid that situation?
Well, ideally, he should have had a cash reserve or a more conservative allocation in the years leading up to retirement so that he wouldn't have to sell investments during a downturn.
That makes sense. What about taxes? I've heard people can overlook those in their withdrawal strategies.
Absolutely. It's a common mistake. Many retirees don't account for taxes when they withdraw from their accounts. I had a couple, let's call them Tom and Linda, who were so focused on their monthly cash flow that they didn't realize how much taxes were eating into their retirement income.
Wow, that must have been a shock for them.
It really was. They were withdrawing from their traditional IRAs without considering the tax implications. They ended up in a higher tax bracket than they anticipated, which, reduced their overall cash flow.
So what should retirees think about when it comes to taxes?
A good strategy is to create a tax-efficient withdrawal plan. This means strategically pulling from different accounts, like Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, and taxable accounts, based on your current tax situation and projections for future income.
That's a smart approach. And what about healthcare costs? I know that's a big concern for many retirees.
Definitely. Many underestimate their healthcare expenses in retirement. I had a client, Sarah, who thought she had enough saved, but she didn't factor in the rising costs of medical care and insurance premiums.
That can really add up, can it?
It can. Sarah ended up having to dip into her savings much more than she planned, which, put a strain on her budget.
So how can someone prepare for those unexpected healthcare costs?
Well, it's crucial to account for those expenses when planning your retirement budget. A good rule of thumb is to plan for healthcare costs to be about 15% of your retirement income. But honestly, it could be even higher depending on your health and needs.
And then there's longevity, right? People are living longer, and that can stretch finances thin.
Exactly. Many retirees are not prepared for the possibility of living 20 or 30 years in retirement. I had a couple, Jerry and Sue, who thought their savings would last, but didn't consider how long they might actually need that income, especially if one spouse, lives significantly longer than the other.
That's a real eye-opener. How can they safeguard against that?
They should consider annuities or other income strategies that provide guaranteed income for life. It's about creating a safety net that can support them, no matter how long they live.
And what about asset allocation? I know that's a big part of retirement planning too.
Yes, poor asset allocation can really derail retirement plans. I've seen retirees who are too conservative, or, on the flip side, too aggressive with their investments.
Can you share a story about that?
Sure. A client named Bill was very risk-averse, so he moved most of his assets into bonds right before interest rates started to rise. His returns were pretty dismal, and he underestimated how inflation would erode his purchasing power.
That's a tough position to be in.
It is. The key is to strike a balance. A diversified portfolio that includes a mix of equities, fixed income, and maybe even alternative investments can help.
So, if someone is listening and recognizing some of these red flags in their own planning, what should they do to course correct?
First, take a step back and evaluate your current situation. If you're not working with a financial advisor, consider seeking one who can help you.
That's a great point.
And also, review your withdrawal strategies. Are you accounting for taxes and healthcare costs? It's essential to have a plan that covers all bases.
And don't forget to revisit your asset allocation regularly, right?
Yes, absolutely. Periodically reassess your risk tolerance and investment strategy as market conditions change and as you progress through retirement.
It sounds like there's a lot to think about, but the good news is that with the right strategies, people can navigate these challenges successfully.
Exactly. It's all about being proactive and, staying informed. That way, you can enjoy your retirement without those common pitfalls weighing you down.
So let's transition into what our listeners can do next.
So Emily, now that we've talked about building that monthly cash flow system, what are some immediate steps folks can take to get started?
Yeah, I think a great first step is to really assess your current financial situation. Like, have you checked your retirement accounts lately?
Absolutely. Knowing where you stand is crucial. You can use platforms like Vanguard or Fidelity. They have great retirement calculators. Just plug in your numbers and see where you are. Right?
Right. And it's also helpful to look at your cash flow. Tracking your income and expenses can give you a clearer picture. Maybe even use a financial planning app to help with that.
Yes. Apps like Mint or YNAB, You Need a Budget, are super user-friendly. They can help you categorize your spending and see where you might save for more retirement investments.
And speaking of investments, running some retirement projections can be really enlightening too. You could use tools from Schwab or even online calculators available on SSA.gov to estimate your Social Security benefits.
For sure. And don't forget to consider your tax situation. Software like TurboTax can guide you through potential tax implications of your retirement withdrawals, which is really important for planning your cash flow.
That's a good point. You want to avoid any surprises come tax season. Plus, reviewing your portfolio quarterly can help you adjust based on market conditions and your personal goals.
Right, and I love that you mentioned habits earlier. Starting small is key. Even if you just set aside an hour every few months to review your finances, that can make a big difference over time.
And keeping up with your financial education is vital too. There are some fantastic books out there, like The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, or How Much Money Do I Need to Retire by Todd Tresidder. They really break down the concepts nicely.
Oh, and podcasts. There are so many good ones, like The Retirement Answer Man or Optimal Finance Daily. They have great tips that can keep you motivated and informed.
All of these resources can really help you feel more confident about your retirement planning. I mean, it's never too late to improve your plan, right?
Exactly. And even if you're a few years away from retirement, it's about making those incremental improvements. Just think, if you start implementing these tools today, you'll be setting yourself up for a smoother transition.
Definitely. And building that monthly cash flow system doesn't have to be overwhelming. Just take it step by step.
And don't hesitate to reach out to a financial advisor if you need personalized guidance. Sometimes, just having a conversation can clarify a lot.
Yes. A good advisor can help tailor a plan that fits your unique situation. That personalized touch can make a world of difference.
So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together. Well, Emily, as we wrap up this conversation about building a monthly cash flow system for retirement, I think it's important to highlight some key takeaways.
Definitely. I mean, there's so much we covered, right?
Exactly. First off, creating a solid cash flow system really starts with understanding your expenses. Knowing what you'll need each month helps set the stage for everything else.
Right, and then there's the importance of diversifying income sources. Relying on just one stream can be risky, so having a mix of investments, annuities, and maybe even part-time work can really help.
Absolutely, and we talked about the role of Social Security too. It's essential to factor that into your cash flow strategy. Knowing when to take it can make a big difference in your overall income.
Yes, and don't forget about the power of budgeting. Being mindful of your spending habits while in retirement can help stretch those dollars further.
And finally, keeping an eye on your investments and making adjustments as needed is crucial. The market changes, and so do our needs, right?
Exactly. So for everyone listening, the key is to build and protect your retirement wealth by staying informed and proactive.
That's right. And if you found value in today's episode, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and maybe even drop a comment about your biggest takeaway. Or if you have any questions, we're here to help.
Yes, and don't forget to share this episode with someone you know who's planning for retirement or already in it. It could really make a difference for them.
And next time, we're diving into how to invest in blue chip stocks for retirement. It's going to be a great discussion.
I can't wait. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope you have a wonderful day ahead.
Take care, everyone.
Bye for now.